Sean Barnard joining us right now. Sean_Barnard1, my co-host for all things picks and roll. He covers the 76ers for us on The Gambler and the association as a whole. Good afternoon, Sean. How we doing today?
Yeah, what's going on, fellas? Excited to be on. Can't believe that I feel like I'm sitting in the waiting room. I'm in the corner taking some jabs, so I'm ready to fight back a little bit here.
Yeah, Brace is really going at you right now.
So
I got to play the middleman here because I think there are going to be there's going to be some fireworks right now.
So I'll just dive right into it because we already know where we're at. Everybody that's listening knows the history of with Joel Embiid. I do believe, with all love and respect, as I am an old man here, miserable old man.
Miserable. You've been very miserable lately.
You know, the younger you are for this, maybe you see it in a different manner. I don't know. Like, I feel like every single year we've been through this with Joel Embiid, and I hate throwing this caveat, Sean, and you should be sick of it now because we talk every day. Like, I am a Joel Embiid guy. I love Joel Embiid. I've been with Joel Embiid from day one. Day one. That's through the surgeries. That's through 2 straight years of nothing. And then everything else that went through it, the tanking and everything else. And it's just every single year, it's the same old song and dance where it's like, well, the team did this and Joel Embiid did this. And it's just like, I'm losing my mind over it. So here we are. And this situation might be different than years past, but we'll go ahead and talk about this one right here, right now. And all I'm saying, my big deal right now is that for the people, and Sean, if I'm putting words in your mouth, I apologize. But if you are one, then I'm going right at you. If people want to believe that because Kendrick Perkins says, oh, Joel Embiid should stand on business and play, where are you? And that has an inkling and just a smidge of push that Joel Embiid hears or reads or sees and says, you know what? I got to prove those guys wrong. Then what the hell are we doing as an organization?
That is an amazing way to put that, by the way.
That cannot happen.
Kendrick Perkins is influencing decisions from what he says on NBA, on ESPN, and influencing decisions that either Joel Embiid or the Sixers.
And that's everybody. It's not just Kendrick Perkins. It's everybody. It's
right,
the NBA
everybody.
Twitter.
Right.
It's the timeline.
But still, it's the talking heads, and it's one of them is Kendrick Perkins.
Correct.
I mean, to specifically put it in that way is really funny.
So that report that came out, Sean, and I'll tee you up on this one. Sam, his last name?
Amick.
Sam Amick. I call BS on that. What do you say to that report?
Yeah, so I guess, like, to kind of lay out my thought process here is my anger here is directed at the Philadelphia 76ers organization. That's where my frustrations are, that I think from start to finish, the 76ers have handled this just about as poorly as possible. And this is a track record dating back to this year, that when you throw in the frustrations with Joel Embiid, the 76ers organization has failed Joel Embiid far more than Joel Embiid has failed the 76ers organization. And when you look at the track record, what he's been through, and front and center, this specific situation, that they set Joel Embiid up for failure by not putting him on that injury report. I don't care what he says, what his conversation is there. If you think there's a 1% chance that he does not play in that game, you put his name on the report with a questionable tag because it is the worst optics possible. So you made your franchise superstar, your face of the franchise, look horrible by not having him listed whatsoever, and then him not being able to play. And by the way, 2 days later, him clearly not being healthy, and anyone that watched 2 seconds of that game should be able to identify that he was clearly injured in that game. So it is a legitimate injury that he's dealing with. So if that's the case, and that's how he looked against the Warriors, how bad could he have possibly looked against the Denver Nuggets? And this is where my frustrations with these Sixers is that you are the ones supposed to be the adults in the room here, that you are the ones that have to protect the guy from himself if he wants to play. And hopefully that is how the process went in Denver. Whether it was Joel or the Sixers organization for why he did not play that matchup, it was the right decision that he did not play that matchup because he clearly was not healthy, and it was the wrong decision for him to suit up against the Golden State Warriors on a meaningless 10 o'clock start against a Western Conference team that is a bad Western Conference team, and then now they're paying the price for it. So my frustrations in this whole thing are directed directly at the Sixers organization, and I agree with you that if any outside noise is infiltrating that or playing a part of it, that makes it even worse.
We don't disagree at all there. I'm 100% in your camp on that one. That frustrated me more than anything with the Sixers and Saturday's game where, you know, Joel Embiid says, oh, well, don't put me on that list. BS. That can't be true. And if it is true, then people got to look themselves in the mirror. As you said, the adults, where are they? And I'm looking at Daryl Morey. I'm looking at Elton Brand more than I'm looking at Nick Nurse. Do you agree with that? Where Nick Nurse, I put myself in his shoes and I say, I got a guy that is playing at the highest level that he's ever seen. And Nick Nurse has been around the game for a long damn time. And now we have this rule where he's got to play 65 games. It sucks, and it shouldn't be as such, but it's the reality. And I got my MVP, my guy Joel Embiid, looking me in the eye, as Nick Nurse said after that Warriors game, and said he told me he was good to go. Training staff said he was good to go. He told me he was a little sluggish. I noticed he didn't look the same, but
Right.
he told me it was the conditioning and just getting acclimated. He missed a couple games. Like, I put myself in Nick Nurse's shoes and I say, okay, I'm playing him now. Where it stops, dude, get him out of the game. Get him out of the game.
For Wednesday, I do put on Nick Nurse that you should have pulled him in that game. There was no doubt. Like, it was painful to watch him play in that game. Like,
Yeah, it was.
Him going up trying to block a shot and his knee just giving out in the second quarter. Like, it was crystal clear. Anyone that watched that game should be able to identify this guy should not be on the floor right now. So that game, I do put a little bit on Nick Nurse for not being able to obviously see that and pull him during that point. As far as the larger conversation, Daryl and Elton are absolutely included that. And I also throw the medical staff significantly in this conversation here, that these are the guys who help make those day-to-day decisions. These are the guys that do have the inside look. And by the way, a far from stellar track record for the Sixers medical staff on this situation. So those are the guys that should have the most educated on all the specific situations. They see the MRIs, they see the way he moves on a daily basis, what he looks like in the training room, how he can put weight, how he lands on his jumps. All these things are stuff that they have clearer intel on that we do. And that is a voice that I would like to be louder. And when you look at the kind of the decision-making process for the Sixers, why it's so frustrating as it pertains to Joel is kind of how the system works, or their process. And this has been this way for his entire career, as he goes through his warm-up routine, and then it's a collaborative approach between the medical staff and Joel for whether or not he plays, with Joel ultimately having the final say in whether or not he suits up. There's no doubt about that. But my thought process being is the medical staff should absolutely have a little bit of a larger voice there. And I get that, like, it is a player-driven league. We know how much the power balance has shifted in favor of these superstars. And I do think far more than he gets credit for, there is this like burning fire in Joel to want to prove down this injury-prone narrative that if you want to make it about MVPs, that Joel's been painted in such a lose-lose corner here that if he doesn't play, he's called soft. And if he does play, he just wants to get 65 games. He just wants to win MVP. Maybe Wednesday he wanted to play because he just watched the Sixers lose 3 consecutive games while the Cavs and Knicks just passed them in the standings. Maybe he wants to help his team get a win. Like, the fact that this is always slanted selfishly in his favor is ridiculous to me. And the people that are outright saying that he's not injured, like, that's just straight up irresponsible and stupid to say. And I've heard it muttered on these airwaves as well. So I think it's crazy for that to come out. So very frustrating from that whole line of thinking.
I agree. And I think that there's always in the middle, right? And I think that's where I'm at with you, where it's like we can be pushed and we got to defend our guy with the nonsense that's being said, and he can't win in these situations. I'm right there with you. I do think it goes over the top, and where everyone's like, see, this is why Joel Embiid was in there, because of this is what was being said. Like, I can't buy that.
Some of this stuff I can't buy just because it's so outlandish. Like, we have never heard this with any other player. If there's any other player that has an injury similar to Joel Embiid's, and we see it the same way, like, there are people that think Joel Embiid has more authority over the training staff. Like, Joel Embiid, they think Joel Embiid just says, yeah, I'm playing, and is going to play. Like, that doesn't happen. No other player around the league has that authority. Why does Embiid have that authority?
Yeah.
Is it just something the Sixers are run that way? Is it, the way they treat Embiid? I don't have any of the answers to this, but all of it seems so outlandish because this happens nowhere else in the NBA.
Well, it did start, remember, and this, again, as much as it pains me, Doc was right. He said the culture with the 76ers was a little off because of everything they went through, losing on purpose for 3 seasons, of course, the tanking, and then, players missing full seasons when darn well Ben Simmons could have played. Maybe not Joel Embiid, but understand where I'm coming from. So I do think that has a carryover effect, and then here we are to this day. But Joel Embiid is the best player in the league. Absolutely. And best players, the great players, are going to be able to do what they want, right? He's not the first player to be able to do what he wants.
To interject here, when you talk about culture, like, Joel Embiid has been the lifeblood of this franchise far more than any. That look at his tenure here. He's on his 4th general manager, his 3rd head coach. He's been through 150. This is the same guy that had a GM tweeting from a burner, leaking medical information about him. Like, these are the things that this dude has lived through on this franchise. Yet, like, we live in a city where I feel he's underappreciated. And when you talk about, like, me being too soft at him, I think he's held to a different standard than any athlete I've ever seen. Like the lose-lose corner he gets painted in. And by the way, when we talk about the injury side of things, I don't think there's a single day where Joel Embiid is 100% healthy. That I genuinely believe that, like, when you look at his body, he's 7'2", 285 pounds. That you look at the lengthy injury list that he's been down, there's no doubt that he has like long-term effects. Like, how do you think this dude's going to be walking when he's 60? That's a real question on him as a human being. And that gets overlooked a ton. And the fact that it's always thrown as like he's too soft or he doesn't have it in him is just straight up like crazy to me when you think about everything that he's put up with.
You know what I love? The fact that Sean Barnard just said, nice work by you. He is underappreciated. Absolutely. Without a doubt, he is underappreciated. And that's not right. That's not right. Because
it's just all the stuff about it. It's the fact that he hasn't.
It's
the fact that he hasn't performed in the playoffs. It is the franchise. The fact that they get tagged, and he was the poster child of that. Like, he was the face of the process when it happened. He was the face of it by the time it ended.
He was the name of it.
You know, he was the name of it. So like that also doesn't help him. The fact that he is considered to be like online way too much. That's why I think that the report came out. I don't think anybody has any hard evidence that Joel Embiid played because of what he heard online. I just think there are people in that building that made a connection. Everybody was talking about it, and Joel Embiid was really adamant on playing. It's just a connection that people are making. There's so many of these like preconceived notions that we already have about what people think about him, why they think he does things, how he goes about his business, and I just think it all goes against him. And I think that's what we're seeing here. And it's a shame because no other player gets treated this way.
And it's nationally and locally, that from a local standpoint, that it does feel like he's individually by far the most talented player in the city. That from just a individual in his sport, he's a better basketball player than Bryce Harper is a baseball player. He's a better basketball player than Jalen Hurts is a football player. You can put him pound for pound against all these guys. And on like the national scale, there's no doubt he's been the best player in the NBA this season. And this is while playing through all these things, still the highest point per minute in NBA history of any player ever this season, even with like him kind of playing a little bit worse in recent games. And amid all the injury concerns, all these things, there's a million reasons that you can connect dots for why he played or didn't play. I think that like that there's a whole lot of just people theorizing things that doesn't paint him in positive light. That's ridiculous that is the case. And if this was Kevin Durant that it was the case, people are automatic like, he's probably hurt. Like, he's probably hurt and not playing. If this is any other player, that's the theory, rather than all these like put on your tinfoil hat and picture why Joel Embiid is a bad human being. And I don't understand why that's fully the case.
Interesting stuff. I like it. I would say we're in agreement a little bit more than I originally thought, Sean Barnard. I do think
maybe you're getting soft, Bryce. Maybe that's what it is.
I just, like I said, I had to hear him out, and he's right. He's making great points as he normally does, and we love Joel. Like you don't have to. Nobody's questioning him in this studio, right? We all love Joel Embiid. We all think the world of him, and we all appreciate him at the level he should be appreciated. But you're right. This city. There's people that constantly throw his name out there. You know, when he's hurt, he's not hurt. All the above, what Sean Barnard just said. So I don't really have much to add on that front. I guess the next question is, what's the latest? Do you have a good vibe?
Good luck finding that out.
And like, where are we going with this injury right now with Joel Embiid?
Yeah, so he traveled back to Philadelphia. Rest of the team out in Utah will be playing the Jazz tonight. Had MRIs. This is how I feel, that I think if it was a season-ending injury, we would know by now. If it was nothing, we would know by now. So it's somewhere in the middle ground of that. I think that there's likely some sort of slight tear in that, and that they're evaluating whether the better option is to send him for surgery, shut him down for an extended period of time, or rest up and hope he's better. You can, if you want to look at this super glass half full here and be super optimistic, maybe you can look at it as this is the best thing, that he can shut himself down, get his body fully healthy, and then maybe we get this healthy playoff run by Joel Embiid. Again, we have to wait for the full diagnosis and the timeline before we can start to have that kind of mind frame. I think ultimately, like, I'm definitely ready to shut him down for an extended period of time. If that means getting surgery, if that means being away from the team, whatever it takes to get him back to 100%, because for the most part this season, this has been one of the healthier seasons of Joel Embiid. So if we can get this level of his game, which he's clearly capable of reaching, and we've seen it front and center on the court over and over again, that whatever it takes to get him back to that, that's what I would rather. If that means holding him back for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever that may be. But as of now, we're still waiting on word for what exactly that MRI says, and I guess we can't speculate till that.
This is, I mean, it's wild that it is taking this long to evaluate or come up with a determination of what's wrong here.
Are we
like, is this
no?
This to me is even past just
no,
like, no, because this is the latest from Shams right now. No, this is a Shams report. They're saying Joel Embiid is meeting with a good amount of doctors yesterday and today before they really truly figure out exactly how long he'll be out. Like they're trying to figure out what's really wrong with this, because this has been through months. This has been now for a few years.
I'm gonna read the tea leaves on that one. He's getting a second opinion because the first one probably is going to shut him down for the remainder of the year.
I truly don't.
Or a significant amount of time with the hope that he comes back for playoffs. Let's put it that way.
I don't know. To me, it's seeming increasingly more like this isn't like a torn ACL injury or a partially torn MCL or anything like that.
Well,
this might just be long-term knee injury stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
It might just be long. This is what it's going to be like for his career.
Yeah, and that's why it's crazy, because you have the games in years past. And I made I made this comment yesterday, made it earlier today. When you think he's hurt, he's healthy. When you think he's healthy, he's hurt. Right. And it's just the way it's been. Bad luck, understood, but it's just the way it's been with Joel Embiid. Fair or unfair, we've been through it with this guy, with his history. So here we are with another one. And it sucks because I don't know if he's forced out there, if he doesn't play in that game, if Nick Nurse says, you know what, don't play, because they're saying this is a different injury.
Which is worse, by the way.
I agree. Yeah.
That's what I'm afraid of.
And we just said we made the case about the history of the Philadelphia 76ers medical team, which I thought they replaced a couple years ago. But anyways, so yeah, he better go talk to another doctor or two.
Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of. It's not surgery. It's not, this is a torn. I would feel much better if I knew the answer to like a partially torn MCL. But this just may be, hey, Joel, there's just a lot of wear and tear on that knee. Like it's swelling up. There's a lot of this inflammation, whatever it is. These injuries keep coming up because you have bad knees. And
I think that's the reality is like when they pop him under the MRI and take a look at that, it's not like this is a clean looking knee in general. Like there's a bunch of stuff going on in there. The dude has chronic knee issues. There's no doubt about that. And that's another reason why like people are a little too hard on him with questioning his injury and stuff, that I don't think he's ever 100%, that like he's fighting through this on a night to night basis. And the reality is, like, even dating back to before this specific injury, that's been the Ramona Shelburne injuries all year, that these are just things that he has to learn how to manage and deal with. That even throughout the season, the period of times that he's missed, there's never been like a diagnosis for what it is. Like it's only been knee swelling, knee soreness, or knee injury management. None of those are injuries. Those are symptoms of injuries, but we don't know what exactly is going on. And that's where I think like some of this collaborative approach between Embiid and the medical staff for what he plays is a lot of it. There's not too much they can do. It's Joel, how are you feeling? How is it? And you kind of go from there. And now with this, I do think it's a separate injury, that there's something either torn or whatever it is in there, and that they're debating the best path, whether it is shut him down for a period of time, get him surgery, or it is just let it rest, these kind of things. So I think that's where the second opinion comes in. I don't think he's going to be out for the year, which we all should be feeling very happy about. But I do think there's going to be a 6 to 8 week period where we probably don't see him play basketball.
Yeah, which is troublesome because you see a lot of teams doing really well, and that's probably going to change Daryl Morey's approach, right? Like, I don't know. This has got a snowball effect behind it. Of course, you're going to lose Joel Embiid for a significant amount of time. There's no good from that.
But also, to interject again here, and this is in my another anti-Philadelphia fan stance today, you can't have your cake and eat it too, that be the people that pound the table all season and say nothing matters till the playoffs, and then when Joel's missing significant regular season time, have an issue with that. That if nothing matters till playoffs, then only judge it when he's back and suits up for the playoffs. And I kind of feel that way in this stance, specifically with how the Eastern Conference has shaken out, that I don't care if they're the 2 seed or the 7 seed, that ideally they're obviously not in that play-in tournament, but top to bottom, the East is deep this year, that there's no cakewalk matchup, that whether it's the Heat, the Pacers, the Knicks, the Cavs, even the Magic I'll throw in there, none of those as a first round matchup are clean sweeps that no team's going to have an issue with. Like, I think straight up the Sixers can't sweep any of those teams. I don't think the Bucks can sweep any of those teams. I think probably the Magic, maybe the Celtics can, but other than that, a team's going to give them a game. So my point being there, that if the Sixers end up the 6th seed and have to play these teams from the other side of things, they should not be scared of that. And if the postseason is all that matters, then let's check rock and judge based on how the postseason goes.
You're right. And I've been on record saying that I just after the All-Star game, I said Joel Embiid till the end of March. I've said that multiple times. Now, you can't do that, right? I just it's my take. I've said it last year. I said it the year before. Of course, we know what happened last year with the nonsense, picking up those knocks. And then here we are right now. So maybe this kind of does work out in the long run, right? It sucks he's not going to be available to win that MVP award. He was playing at an unbelievable level, but hey, we got the 70-point performance to look back on. Joel, get healthy and hopefully, knock on wood, he can get back in playing for the Sixers in like late March, get him acclimated, get to the playoffs healthy. I think we would all sign up for that, right? Even the dumb Sixer fans that want to complain about everything, they'd even have to shut up and say, you know what? This might actually be working out better for us here in the long run. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's fair. And like we know the level that this guy can play in. It's never an issue of it's never an issue of ability, it's availability. And I've always disagreed with the notion that the
Except
best
in that
ability
Celtics series last year.
Yeah. Well, yeah, once again while he was had a torn meniscus under him. So in the same point here, like it is all tied together to an extent, but the best ability is not availability. The best ability is ability. When a guy can play to that level, which Joel can. So let him get healthy, and we know what he can bring to the table when he's healthy. The best case is just make sure you can get him there.